Leaking music has been a problem in the industry for a long time now, and one of my favorite musicians, Porter Robinson, just became a victim to it this morning. For those of you who don't know who Porter Robinson is, he was a really popular EDM producer in the early 2010s, and then he followed up his debut album with a more pop-driven record a few years back. Well, over the last month or so, he's been teasing his brand new album and showing a lot of teasers on TikTok, and just the other day, he announced the first single coming out of the album called Cheerleader, and even though the song is supposed to drop tonight, it looks like people have leaked it early. Porter Robinson actually responded to this in basically the most wholesome way he possibly could. He just made a light joke of the whole situation and he posted this little edit about it. Porter Robinson is definitely somebody that takes his art very seriously and spends a lot of intention and time planning it out. So I can only imagine how frustrating it is to get to this point in the rollout cycle and then have somebody just spoil the whole thing. Being a musician myself, I feel like there's so much fun out of the release date and people getting to hear your song for the first time the way you intended it. And it just feels so unfair that a song that you already intend on releasing and you've already submitted to come out just gets leaked like that. Leaking music has always been kind of an interesting subject because of how many scrapped songs never see the light of day. I know for myself, I've made thousands of songs and only put out a handful of them. And I think there's value to that music that maybe you overthought or maybe you don't think is good enough that your audience is actually going to really like. For example, another popular musician, Aries, just had his music leaked this week as well. Now in his case, a lot of these songs sound more like demos and don't necessarily sound like they're anything that's going to come out. I still think regardless, it's pretty uncool to leak out a musician's art against their will. But I do think that for myself personally, if it's music that I don't plan on using and I don't plan on putting out at some point, it doesn't really do any harm to myself for it to be out there. I think it's almost impossible that none of your music is ever going to get leaked to the public. Just from sending your music out to people, to friends, or to A&Rs, it's pretty much guaranteed that your music is going to get out in some way. But I've never really seen the point of leaking a song that's already going to come out and it's going to come out within 24 to 48 hours. It's weird because a lot of people that leak that kind of music actually come directly from the communities most times. The thing that I'm failing to understand is that if you're a fan of an artist, I feel like the natural thing to do is you want to support them. And by leaking their music that is literally going to come out, I feel like you're just doing the opposite. At least in the cases of somebody using a VPN to listen to a song early, at least they're giving it a view or a stream. But in the cases of leaking, you're just doing nothing for them whatsoever. This day and age, I feel like building hype for a release is more important than ever before. With how fast-paced social media is, it's even harder to grab somebody's attention. And so intentionally crafting a rollout, filming a music video, and getting everything set, it would just suck to have somebody stomp on that in the very end. Of course, an artist isn't entitled to your support, but on the flip side, you're not entitled to an artist's music either. Technically, it is their job to put out music, but if they've put out good stuff, I don't see why you wouldn't just follow through and kind of see where they go. And speaking of good music that I hope doesn't leak anytime soon, I have a new song coming out March 29th. You can pre-save it in the description if you're interested. And that's all I have to say. Peace out.
You know I'm saving up pocket change for a deeper life.